Every time you step onto a plane, you enter a world governed by rules, routines, and secrets most passengers never see. Behind those polite smiles and calm announcements lies an entire system of unspoken truths about safety, behavior, and what really happens at 35,000 feet. Airlines keep certain things quiet for good reason: to maintain order, avoid panic, and protect their brand image. But today, we're lifting the curtain on the hidden side of air travel. 1. The plane isn't as clean as you think. That folded blanket waiting on your seat? It might not be fresh. Most airlines don't wash blankets or sanitize seatbelts after every flight, only after a full day or even several days of use. The same goes for tray tables, seat pockets, and armrests, which are among the dirtiest surfaces on board. Flight attendants often admit that they'd never eat directly off a tray table, not after seeing babies changed on them or passengers sneeze and spill drinks all over. The deep cleaning you imagine happens far less often than you'd think. Planes get tidied up between flights, trash collected, seats straightened, but real disinfection usually happens overnight or after several trips. 2. The air you breathe isn't 100% fresh. Contrary to popular belief, cabin air isn't completely replaced every few minutes. Instead, it's a mix of fresh air from outside and recirculated air that passes through high-efficiency HEPA filters. These filters do remove most bacteria and viruses, but the air still comes from the jet engines, drawn through a process called bleed air. While safe, it means the air you breathe was once part of the engine's pressurization system. On rare occasions, oil or chemical fumes can leak into the system, causing a fume event, something airlines rarely talk about publicly. Crew members are trained to recognize it immediately because it can cause dizziness, nausea, and headaches. 3. There's a secret room above or below you. On long-haul flights, pilots and flight attendants take breaks in hidden rest compartments that passengers rarely see. These are small, windowless rooms tucked above the cabin ceiling or below the floor, depending on the aircraft model. For example, on a Boeing 777, the crew rest area might be above the passenger cabin, accessible by a narrow staircase hidden behind a locked door. Inside, you'll find tiny bunk beds, curtains for privacy, and sometimes even a small monitor or reading light. While you're watching a movie or sleeping, one of your pilots might be doing the same. But don't worry, there's always a second pilot, or even a third on duty, ensuring constant control of the aircraft. 4. The pilots don't eat the same food as you. Here's one most passengers never consider. Pilots and co-pilots are not allowed to eat the same meal. It's a strict safety rule meant to prevent both from getting food poisoning at the same time. Meals are usually prepared separately and labeled specifically for cockpit crew. Pilots often avoid seafood or dishes that spoil easily, and some even bring their own food. Flight attendants follow similar caution. Many admit they'll snack on granola bars instead of eating airplane meals, especially if they've seen how catering is handled behind the scenes. 5. Turbulence is normal, but can be dangerous. Turbulence is one of the most misunderstood parts of flying. While it's completely normal and rarely dangerous to the aircraft itself, it can be dangerous to people not buckled in. Flight attendants have seen serious injuries caused by sudden jolts, from passengers hitting their heads to hot coffee burns. What the crew won't tell you is that pilots sometimes can't see turbulence ahead, even with radar. If you notice the seatbelt sign turned on without explanation, it's usually because the cockpit was warned by another aircraft flying ahead. And when you hear, "We're just expecting a few bumps," it could mean anything from a mild shake to a few minutes of rough air that makes trays rattle and drinks spill. 6. Phones and electronics don't actually interfere with the plane. For decades, Airlines told passengers to turn off all electronic devices during takeoff and landing. The reason? Supposed interference with aircraft systems. But in truth, modern planes are shielded from such signals, and the rule was mostly precautionary. Today, the ban has been relaxed. You can keep devices on airplane mode. The real reason flight attendants still want your full attention during those moments is safety. Takeoff and landing are the riskiest phases of flight, and they need passengers alert in case of an emergency. 7. Pilots sleep in the cockpit, legally. It might shock you, but yes, pilots sometimes sleep in the cockpit during long flights. This is called controlled rest. On routes lasting many hours, one pilot may take a short nap, usually 20 to 40 minutes, while the other remains fully alert. It's completely legal and even encouraged by aviation authorities to reduce fatigue and improve alertness. So the next time you're on a long overnight flight, don't worry if one of your pilots is catching a quick nap. It's part of keeping you safe. 8. Crew members have a disruptive passenger code. If you ever cause a scene on a plane, the crew won't call you out publicly. Instead, they'll use coded language to alert each other. If necessary, the cockpit. One common code is Mr. Smith, as in, we have a Mr. Smith in seat 22A, which means there's a problem passenger. Another might be a calm request like, could you bring me a coffee from the front galley? Signaling that a supervisor or security-trained crew member should quietly assist. Flight attendants are trained in de-escalation techniques, but they also know when to involve authorities. If you threaten crew safety or refuse to obey instructions, the captain has full legal authority to divert the flight, and you could face arrest upon landing. 9. The oxygen masks don't last long. When flight attendants demonstrate oxygen masks, they say oxygen will flow automatically. What they don't tell you is that those masks only provide about 12 to 15 minutes of oxygen. That sounds terrifying, but it's usually enough time. Here's why. If the cabin loses pressure, pilots immediately descend to a safe altitude, below 10,000 feet, where everyone can breathe normally again. So that short oxygen supply isn't meant to last the flight, just long enough for the pilots to stabilize conditions. Also, those yellow cups don't actually inflate when oxygen flows. That's a common misconception. Even if it doesn't look like it's working, keep it on and breathe normally. 10. The water on planes isn't always safe. Ever wonder why flight attendants rarely drink coffee or tea on the plane? It's because the water used for hot drinks often comes from the aircraft's onboard tank, not bottled water. These tanks are rarely cleaned, sometimes only a few times a year. Tests over the years have found high levels of bacteria in the water systems of various airlines. Most crew members will only drink sealed bottled water, and many recommend passengers do the same. If you ever order coffee on a flight, you're likely drinking something brewed with water that's been sitting in metal pipes since the plane's last deep maintenance. Flying may feel routine, but behind every trip lies a world of unseen systems, silent teamwork, and secrets designed to keep passengers safe and comfortable, without them even realizing it. Next time you board a plane, remember, what you see is only part of the story. If you enjoyed uncovering these behind-the-scenes airline secrets, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fascinating deep dives into the hidden world of modern travel.